In the summer of 1936, Berlin was a city on the brink of transformation. The Olympic Games were about to commence, and the world's eyes were fixed on Germany. For Porfirio Rubirosa, this was more than just an athletic spectacle. It was a front-row seat to history. As a diplomat representing the Dominican Republic, Rubirosa attended the Games, where he found himself seated near none other than Adolf Hitler. The Führer, keen on showcasing the prowess and superiority of the Aryan race, saw the Olympics as a perfect stage for Nazi propaganda. The 1936 Olympics were meticulously orchestrated to display the strength and unity of Nazi Germany. It was a spectacle designed to impress and intimidate, blending sportsmanship with a sinister political agenda.
I was frequently asked what effect Hitler had on me. I remember mentioning to Flor one evening that he appeared ridiculous in motion pictures. But when you were near him, he gave off a certain power, a disquieting magnetism. One would forget his modest height and only remember his sparkling gaze, self-willed mouth, and the abrupt movements of his hands.
Despite the heavy political atmosphere, Berlin had its charm. Rubirosa frequented the cabarets, losing himself in the whirl of lights and music. His nights were filled with women, laughter, and the thrill of the city's nightlife. This lifestyle, however, began to strain his marriage with Flor. While she attempted to create a home, Rubirosa's nights stretched into the early morning hours, returning home disheveled and reeking of perfume. The tension between them grew, culminating in heated arguments and threats. Flor, desperate to control her wayward husband, even brandished a revolver, threatening to shoot off the leash that was dragging him off to clubs. The strain on his marriage with Flor reached a breaking point. Flor returned to the Dominican Republic, seeking a life without Rubirosa's constant infidelities. Soon after returning, she asked Porfirio to get back together, but despite her efforts to reconcile, Rubirosa proceeded with the divorce, a decision that led to significant consequences. With the end of his marriage, Rubirosa faced the wrath of Trujillo, who declared him persona non grata. Stripped of his diplomatic status, Rubirosa's life took a dramatic turn. What challenges lie ahead for the man who once had the world at his feet? In 1938, Porfirio Rubirosa found himself in dire straits. Divorced from Flor De Oro and stripped of his diplomatic status, his world had come crashing down. The man who once had everything was now filled with uncertainty. Amidst this turmoil, an opportunity presented itself. A jeweler and exile from the Spanish Civil War, Manuel Fernandez Aldao, approached Rubirosa with a desperate plea for help. Aldao claimed he had left a fortune in rubies, sapphires, diamonds, and pearls sealed in a safe in his store in Madrid. With Rubirosa's diplomatic credentials still granting him certain privileges, Aldao saw him as the perfect ally to retrieve the treasure for a hefty reward. At the same time, a Polish man also sought Rubirosa's help to retrieve diamonds and cash from Madrid. The plan was set, but only Rubirosa returned. So what happened to the Polish man? According to Rubirosa, while driving on a road, bandits had ambushed them with a hailstorm of bullets. Amidst the chaos, he ran off with the jewels and claimed the two men fled for their lives. After the gunfire ceased, Rubirosa returned to the car and, fearing for his life, drove back. The story was met with skepticism. Questions arose about the lack of bullet holes in the car, but without concrete evidence, the tale was begrudgingly accepted. Aldao the jeweler accused Rubirosa of theft, claiming gems were missing. Despite his suspicions, Aldao had no proof, and Rubirosa walked away with the promised reward. However, a few months later, Aldao discovered that $180,000 worth of gems were missing, $5 million in today's worth. Suddenly, Rubirosa's fortunes took a dramatic turn. He was once again the talk of the town, a big spender in the finest restaurants and nightclubs. Lavish dinners, expensive champagne, and extravagant tips became his calling card. His nights were filled with dancing and revelry, starkly contrasting the uncertainty he had faced just months before. Soon enough, Porfirio would catch another big break. It was a day like any other in 1939 when Porfirio Rubirosa received a call that would change the course of his life once more. Stripped of his diplomatic status and labeled persona non grata by Rafael Trujillo, Rubirosa had been living in relative obscurity. The call from the Dominican Republic was unexpected and filled him with apprehension. The message was clear. Rafael Trujillo requested Rubirosa's assistance in accommodating his wife and son, who were visiting France. Rubirosa's mind raced with possibilities. Was this a trap, a setup to lure him back into Trujillo's grasp? Despite his misgivings, Rubirosa knew he had no choice but to oblige. Declining the request could spell disaster. To Rubirosa's relief, Trujillo's request was sincere. Mrs. Maria Martinez de Trujillo and her son Ramfis were welcomed with open arms, and Rubirosa played the gracious host, showing them the wonders of France. Mrs. Trujillo reported her pleasant experience back to her husband, praising Rubirosa's hospitality. It seemed Rubirosa had successfully navigated this precarious situation, but the stakes were raised when Rafael Trujillo decided to join his family in France. The Generalissimo's presence cast a long shadow over Rubirosa, who couldn't shake the feeling of an impending storm. During Trujillo's visit, Rubirosa played the role of dutiful guide, showing him around the city of light. Despite his fears, the visit went smoothly. Trujillo seemed genuinely pleased with Rubirosa's efforts, and the danger that had loomed so large began to dissipate. In a surprising turn of events, Trujillo reinstated Rubirosa's diplomatic position. The exile was over, and Rubirosa was back in the fold, his status and privileges restored. As Rubirosa stepped back into his diplomatic role, the legend of Rubirosa the Playboy would continue to grow larger.